Just making some fine adjustments to the impeller for extra horsepower. This ought to get me at least 20 horse. Welcome back, everyone. In this video I rebuild our turbocharger, install upgraded Bellowed up pipes and a fan clutch while stranded on the side of the road in Oaxaca, Mexico during a COVID-19 pandemic. Alright, so as most of you know, we're in Oaxaca, Mexico, in a campground, and as you can see behind me, many of the other people we were quarantined with have either flown home or driven home back to the United States or wherever they're heading. And so we're left with, what, 7 rigs behind us, I think, and us, of course. And we figured while we're stuck here, I ordered some upgrade parts, the Bellowed up pipes, a new turbocharger, and a clutch fan and some other stuff. And I intended to change it here while waiting for this whole storm to blow over. Alright, as you can probably guess, there's supposed to be a turbocharger back in there. And as I've mentioned in other videos, I ordered a replacement from KC Turbos, which should provide quite a bit more flow than the stock unit. But it was shipped from the distributor over 2 months ago, and it still hasn't arrived here in Mexico. Alright, so the shipment has been officially considered lost, and they did refund me for the turbo, so I contacted KC Turbos directly and asked them if they would ship one by DHL, which is the carrier of choice down here. All the locals recommend it and say almost everything else won't get delivered. So I called KC and asked if they would ship DHL, and they said no, only US Post or UPS. Now, I've ordered probably 6 shipments to this campground we're staying at, and everything that's been delivered DHL, or shipped DHL, has been delivered, and everything shipped by UPS is lost in transit currently. And so I wasn't going to take yet another chance at another lost turbo that I need to wait weeks and weeks for. So fortunately, when I did order the rest of this stuff that was delivered, I ordered a rebuild kit to rebuild the original turbo. So I will be able to rebuild it back to factory goodness, but I would have really liked to have that upgraded turbo. Sorry for the head-mounted camera, everyone. Don't want to trouble Kara with this baloney. So you might be wondering why I do such critical engine work while stranded in the middle of nowhere. Reason number 1 is this is the Turbo Pedestal. This sits on top of the engine, and then the turbo sits on top of here. And there's this little actuator that is oil pressure powered using the solenoid, and this plunger pushes out and closes a flap door in the exhaust to cause the engine to heat up quicker. And that was used for emissions reasons, so that your engine heated up quicker and became more efficient quicker. But we have the engine preheater, and so we're at operating temperature before we even turn the key on. So that never gets used. And it is a common point of failure. It leaks through this shaft right here, and then you can see all this sooty buildup. Secondarily, this is the up pipe assembly. The 2 engine exhaust manifolds are connected here, and it comes up joined in this collector, and this fitting here joins to the back of the turbocharger and spins the turbo. Unfortunately, the original design for these uses these donut bushings, or gaskets rather, to seal these tubes in there and create a nice airtight seal. Unfortunately, they leak terribly and notoriously. And I tried to cheap out, and I actually replaced these gasket donuts with oversized donuts, and as you can see, they've blown out the side. Now, I have loosened this bolt like 2 turns, but these just fell out like this. When I disconnected this end from the exhaust manifold, I have not touched these bolts, and you can see how terribly those are sealing. And so this was causing soot and smoke to come out in the engine, and more importantly than that is that's robbing our turbocharger of exhaust, and thus our turbo is not producing nearly the boost it should. And a result of that is we have too much fuel in the combustion cycle and not enough air, and it's causing us to smoke quite badly. So that needed to be repaired, and so I ordered a bunch of parts. So let me show you that. All right, so the most urgent thing on the list is this pedestal. Now this is manufactured by Garrett, the same company that made the original pedestal. And this is a exhaust brake valve delete pedestal, meaning that piston with the leaky cylinder that sits here normally is not present on this casting and thus cannot leak. So that's pretty straightforward and easy. The next thing is I got a set of Bellowed exhaust tubes made by International in the USA, and these are said to be of much higher quality than the import knockoff ones. So I ordered the high quality international ones from a reputable distributor in the US. This is one of the things that did come on that shipment that was supposed to have a turbo in it. Anyway, this is them. And as you can see, instead of a slip fit connection that has a donut in it, it actually has this accordion flex section that covers here. So that still slips inside there, just the seal is made with a solid gasket rather than a sliding donut thing. And then any flex between the engine and the exhaust is taken up by these Bellowed accordions in here. Now, unfortunately, this was sitting on the shelf, not used. I was waiting for a turbo solution to manifest itself, and I didn't notice there's a big defect right here. There's a void in the casting, and there's a hole straight through from the turbo inlet to this collector section. And I contacted the distributor about it, and his direct quote was, "Man, you sure have some bad luck," signed the distributor. So we went and actually found a machine shop within a bicycle distance of here. We ground out this section and welded it with the nickel rod that's used for repairing cast. I consulted some of my engineer welder friends, and they said that that's probably the best way to make that repair. Although it's not super pretty, it should work. There is still a little bit of a defect here, like almost a crack or a parting line between here, but it is what it is. So that's the situation with this. The next thing we ordered was a replacement clutch fan, or rather fan clutch. I've been having some issues with our air conditioning. It works fine, and then when we have the engine super hot from a mountain pass or something, and then we slow down for a town or stoplights or whatever, the air conditioner starts blowing hot. We've had our air conditioner serviced, and they said everything is fine that way, and so my next best guess is the fan clutch is kicking out and not engaging when it should. So hopefully this is correct. All right, and the last thing I'll point out is when you switch to this pedestal with the exhaust back pressure valve delete, where that cylinder would normally there would normally be a cylinder here with a push rod. That push rod would come to here on the turbocharger. Get this out of the way and show you the turbo. So the turbo inlet is here. This is where the exhaust gas comes up into it, and it spins this impeller in here. And there was a butterfly valve in this casting here, and that would break, or rather increase the back pressure on the exhaust to cause the engine to heat up faster. And so I had that shaft removed, and had the guys at the same shop that welded up that collector make me a plug. So we drove a plug in there to seal off where that shaft originally went in. And that is about it. I've already rebuilt this yesterday, but I'll jump to a clip of that now, and you guys can kind of see the process. This isn't going to be a how-to video or an exhaustive how to do anything video, because I don't know how to do anything. But hopefully you guys find it entertaining and kind of get a bit of a status update on what we're up to, what we're doing down here. Got the turbo all pulled apart, cleaned up sort of, and ready to put it back together with the rebuild kit. Some explanation for why I need to do this. I previously rebuilt this turbo with these brand new bearings. They fit on this impeller shaft like so, and this is the original journal block or center section of the turbo, and this is how much play was in the bearing. So as you can see, there was a lot of play in the brand new bearings, and I couldn't understand why. And then on further thought, this turbo is Garrett factory remanufactured. So it was rebuilt once by Garrett, and they likely bored this center section hole out larger and then used large oversized bearings. Although I couldn't find a large oversized bearing rebuild kit. So I rebuilt it with all new parts except the bearings and put it back together and ran it like that. Unfortunately, those bearings were kind of shot, as you can see in this little clip. There's more play than I think there should be. So I have ordered a brand new Garrett center section, or what I would call a journal block. And so I'm going to be able to rebuild it with a brand new rebuild kit with this new center section. So let's put that together. Which means 15% more horsepower. If anyone is ever deciding which tools to buy to go overlanding, and ones come in a beautiful case like this, don't pick black.
Let's make a thermal.
$66.
All right, so according to the instructions, you should install the right side down tube on the collector first, and then just snake that down on top. I'm going to actually snake this one down first because it seems like this might be in the way of that one. So I've got the both up pipes in and bolted up nice and tight to the collector. There was chitter chatter online that this is very difficult if you have 4-inch down tube for your exhaust, but I had no problems. And currently they're just loosely bolted up to the exhaust manifolds, and I'll tighten that up later once it's connected to the turbo, just so I don't have any turbo alignment issues. Alright, the next step is to install the pedestal. There's 2 O-rings on the top and 2 on the bottom that were not included. Fortunately, I kept the old ones. I would have rather used new ones, and I think you're supposed to anytime you remove it, but considering this stuff took 6 weeks to get to Mexico, I'm not waiting around for more. And yeah, so I'll install it with that. Alright, got this kind of dry fit in there. While I would have liked to pressure wash this out really good, and in fact the campground did offer me use of their pressure washer, I felt there was too much oil in here to blow onto their grass, so I kind of mopped it up the best I could with some rags. But I should mention that all of the parts that we were able to take off that were super oily, we took to a local mechanic car wash sort of place, and they hosed it off with gasoline in the sink and then sprayed it down with a hose. That's fine. I always give Mark over at JY Dog Garage hell for wearing flip-flops while working on this stuff. And here I am barefoot in shorts. But whatever. This is made slightly harder because I've got this fuel crossover system in here, which makes it slightly bigger. There we go. Just gonna tighten everything up sort of loosely and make sure all the tubes line up. Then I'll come back and get you. Alright, so this is a view from underneath, of course. These are the up pipes that come from the exhaust manifold, and these are the new ones we just installed. So I've just tightened these up down here. Now I'll head up and tighten them up top. This one's fairly well lit so you can see it. The other one is over on this side, kind of in there, harder to see. This area was obstructed by the starter, which I have removed to gain access, but now that everything's nice and tight, I'm going to install that. So, I've got the starter all put back. I should mention this is a gear reduction starter, which just barely clears this cross member up here, but it spins the motor over super fast. I really like it. So for most of this project I've been rocking the safety shorts and safety toes, just because it gives me a lot more flexibility to climb up here and then just sit wherever I need to sit to get to what I'm doing. But when the sun is on that bumper, it's hotter than a $2 pistol. But anyway, exhaust is all tight down there. Now I just need to tighten the collector to the back of the turbo and reinstall all this plumbing. Easier said than done, right? Alright guys, spider's back on. This is the output from the turbo, and this goes up forward to the intercooler, and this returns from the intercooler and down to the intake plenums. I'm also changing out this fan clutch with a new one, because hopefully that's why our AC keeps kicking out. So yeah, fired up just fine. No leaks that I can tell, but it is supper time and it's late in the day, so I'm going to shut her down and we're going to take it for a rip tomorrow. There's a mountain pass up here that we filmed that Wanderer video on with Stacy Joy and her Airstream bus, so we're going to take it up there and send it and hope for the best. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. Alright guys, just went out for a little bit of a test drive, stopped in at the AutoZones and got a top up for engine coolant, and it's looking good. The turbo spools up nice and quick. And we're making a lot more boost than we have been in a long time, which is nice. We're getting up near 15 15, 20 pounds just tooling around, and I can get it up over 20 when I'm really putting the hammer down. Unfortunately, it hasn't solved our smoking issue, which I think at this point is just a tuning issue. The chip is tuned a little too hot. So I don't know if you guys will be able to hear that turbo whistle, but it is spooling up on us a lot quicker, which is nice. And our boost is coming up quick. And the exhaust leak that we were smelling in here for the last 1,000 kilometers has been taken care of with those new Bellowed up pipes. But like I said, that the exhaust is still a little smokier than I'd like, which I'm not sure if that's I don't know how to tell if that's overfueling or oil leaking into the cycle somehow. If you guys have any suggestions on how to figure that out, you can leave a comment in the doobly-doo. I'd appreciate that very much. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our channel members. The response has been very overwhelming. It's really nice to see so many of you interested in what we're doing, enough to chip in some bucks every month, so thank you very much for that. I'm supposed to mention all of our tier 3 and 2 channel members, but the list is so long and I'm driving, I can't remember them all right now. But thank you all very much. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.